No, that's right, absolutely. But listen, I know you wanted to ask me some questions. I know you wanted to interview me about some of these case studies. I know one of the things you wanted to know was whether anybody that had either little or no life experience can do this, and that's a great question to ask. So, the first person that came to mind actually was a guy called Isaac. Now, Isaac, when I first met him, he was 28 years old, and he was working as a mechanic in an auto shop. Just doing replacement tires, exhaust oil changes, that kind of thing, batteries, that brakes, that kind of stuff. And he was getting mistreated by his boss, and I love what he says because. It's a phrase that Kate's used as well, and the fact is that his boss treated him so badly one day, decided to sack his boss. And not only did he do that, but he also sold his toolbox, his Snap-on toolbox, all of his tools for about 80 British pounds, about $100. And he did that so he couldn't be tempted back into his previous profession. And he decided to set up and start a publishing company called Gangster Publishing. Following some of the advice that we gave him, he was using some licensing, he used direct mail, and he went on to do really well. But the thing with Isaac is he had a couple of challenges going on. I mean, I know he was hard of hearing, but he lived in a kind of a remote area of Scotland as well, at the top of the United Kingdom. So the business model that he was looking for, he knew he wasn't getting any passing trade, and that's why I think really he fell in love with information publishing, because the world is your oyster. So anyway, I managed to dig into a couple of archives of the things that we did with our students. He put together some material. I mean, I've just printed these ones out, but he put a little website together, and he offered a package of training materials and a manual. And I think there's a couple of DVDs in there as well for 297 British pounds. That's probably getting on for about $320, $340 perhaps, as being his first product. And he did really well with that. I mean, he licensed it, he wrote the sales copy himself, he self-published it himself, and he went on to make over 40,000 British pounds. And if you wanted to convert that into American, it's about $54,277 at the last time that I ran it through xe.com to work out what the exchange rate was. And he did that really quickly because he hit the ground running, made that commitment. He wasn't tempted back into his old profession, and he did that in 8 months. So if you're looking for a reason why he was successful in such a short period of time, I think I'll put it down to actually two things. The first thing is, on page 39 of the book, we go into what we call key component number 1. And as you've probably read already in the book, that this is all about increasing your market reach. And Isaac was able to do that very quickly because he was selling one-to-many. He was getting more people to visit his website. He wasn't selling on a one-to-one basis, but also he was doing joint ventures, which we talk about right here in the book, and also he was looking at ways he could do it by direct mail. He was looking at ways he could do it by scaling and borrowing other people's lists. There were lots of tips in this book that he followed that allowed him to be successful really quickly. In fact, there's another proven technique on page 57 that Isaac was following to the letter, which meant that it wasn't just a home study course that he was selling. It then went on to some other products and services that he could offer to his growing collection of clients as well. And one of the biggest questions Isaac had was, whether he had to have a lot of these products put together at the same time. And I said, well, no, you can do things one at a time. You can make sure that you only create a product and send it once one has been sold, if that's what you want to do. However, with our guidance, there's no reason why you can have maybe 100, 200, 300 copies of your product put together straight away. And that's what he did in terms of putting a manual together. Now, these aren't necessarily Isaac's products, but I just wanted to show you how you can just go down to a local print copy shop or a print-on-demand company, and there are different ways of putting these guys together, whether it's Spiro-bound or wire-bound like these two. But essentially, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have these made up beforehand. He was making sure that they were just sort of being created after they were being sold, and of course, at 300 British pounds. More in American, he could afford to have that done. So that's Isaac. I mean, again, had no previous experience. He was a mechanic. He came fresh into this industry, never done anything like this before. And the product he was selling, he didn't know about that either. He'd licensed that in from somebody else. He did very well with it. And again, the great thing about Isaac was he took what was written and what we talked to him about, and he just did it without question. And he has been an amazing success as a result of that. So I guess, yeah, there is an example of somebody that's pretty young. He was just 28 years old at the time, no previous experience with anything like this, and just got hold of the great information like what we've got in the book here, and just applied himself to the cause, and that's what I can urge everybody to do. So yeah, go and check out key strategy number 1 in the book, and also look at the extra tip that we gave him that was on page 57 as well. So I hope that helps answer this particular question for you.